rolling.
Oh my.
In the 5.0 with the rag top down so our hair can't blow. The girl is on standby waiting to say hi. Did I stop? No, I just drove by. Welcome to part 3 with Addie Levinsky. You are watching A Case of the Jills, and we really hope that you watched part 1 and part 2, where we started to tear into Addie's life with...
Break it down.
That's right, with amenorrhea and overtraining as a professional cyclist. If you watched the end of part 2, you know that Addie had sort of an epiphany at that moment.
Call it that.
Call it that. And we decided to give it some time and give her the opportunity to sort of like debrief, take a little me time to figure out some things about this process.
There's a lot of staring at walls involved in this.
It's not easy. It's really not. And I think what's amazing about the last video is that you really see Addie having this moment of realization, and it's, if you watch the video, you see how incredibly powerful that is. So we wanted to come back today. We went for a nice long walk this morning in our matching hats. We wanted to give Addie the opportunity to address the situation and talk more about what it made her think and her next steps.
Thank you to everyone for your overwhelming support. As you all know, I am here because of this lovely woman, and what she's doing is second to none. I can't articulate it enough. And so to see the outpour of support from all of you, whom I know can completely identify, it means the world to me, it means the world to Jill, and I just hope more than anything that my mistakes and my stubbornness can alleviate you guys all experiencing the same thing, because it's a vicious cycle.
It has been amazing to see all of your comments, and we really do thank you for that. So now we're excited to bring you the goods.
Yeah.
Addie, if you would, if you could explain in your words what you were thinking in that moment, that would be great for everyone to hear.
Yeah, so for those of you who watched the last video, I started talking in circles, and it was like this vicious, like, trying to climb up a ladder with no end, I don't know. And I realized I was completely screwing myself. I even said that I was fucking it up, which meant a number of things. I think one thing that as soon as I said it, I realized that it was quite the contrary. I said, I'm trying to do everything to stay comfortable. It's really funny because as an endurance athlete, I was very,
You thrive on uncomfortability.
Right. It's like, oh, how high is my pain tolerance? I cannot tell you the number of times that I'd be getting a tattoo or going to the doctor and be like, it's cool, my pain tolerance is so high. And it's not actually in like that same way. So I think that comfort almost became a security blanket, and I thought that if I was being comfortable that I was somehow recovering. But it's like anything. You fall into a habit, you fall into a plan, and it becomes, for my personality type, and I think I speak for Jill as well, it's easy to just get into this cycle of training became comfortable. So doing the things that would make anyone, kind of squirm and think like, I would never, the number of people that were like, I would never do that. It just became really comfortable for me. So now, as we're moving into a completely new chapter, I realize that in order to recover, I need to be uncomfortable again on the completely antithetical side of what I've always done. So that was a big realization. I knew it, but I think through this whole process, I'm just hanging on by a thread, and I'm like, what can I get away with? How can I do a little bit to still maintain some sort of sanity? Because I just was not willing to give up some sort of semblance of training or exercise. Yeah, I would say I don't have any fitness goals right now, but that didn't change my need to do it. Yes.
You still had control goals. Right. In this moment, how do you feel physically? How do you feel physically and mentally right now?
So that's a great question, because physically, I said that I would wake up and kind of do a body check and be like, how do I feel today? What do I feel up to doing? Knowing that my sense of it's totally skewed. So like what I feel up to doing mentally is my body might not be like up for that. Every day is completely different, and it has been, I'll be totally frank with you guys, it's been bad. I feel terrible, and I haven't even been doing what I would consider a lot of activity. So I know that Jill made a great point. She said, once you get hypothermia, you're more likely to get it again, and it's easier to get it again, and that's like overtraining, and when your cortisol is always up here, it doesn't take much for it to get up here. And so that's kind of what I realized, is that if I really want to start feeling better and recover from this, even outside of getting my period back and gaining all of the things that you lose when you're overtrained, you just want to feel like a normal human. I mean, you want to wake up and be like, okay, this is how I'm going to feel the rest of the day, not, oh, I feel like I got hit by a truck, even though I didn't really do that much yesterday.
In our skewed
right, in our
opinion
skewed
of what
opinion.
is
Right,
that
right.
much.
Yep.
So what are you gonna do now?
So now I have made it a very strong commitment to definitely no running, definitely no cycling. I'm going to rethink the style of yoga that I do.
Let's talk a little bit about the yoga. This is absolutely not to call Addie out, but it was really interesting for me to see this as well. She took me to the yoga place that she goes to. We're not going to tell you the name, but it is a national chain. Yep. Is that correct? It is a national chain. And the style of yoga is, I wouldn't call it yogic, really.
If you're looking for your spirit, I mean, it does wonders for your, I mean, it's great, but
to be honest, Addie goes to this yoga place not necessarily out of a fitness goal, but because she actually gets a discount there, aka it's free for her.
Free.
So I understand this is a compelling reason to go, and she took me to yoga at this place, and I nearly died. Like, not just kind of, I was like, I'm suffering for my life here. Here's my boyfriend's phone number. Please call him in the event that I should drop on the floor. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was extremely hot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do have to fill out like an emergency contact when you're...
It's incredibly intense. So I'm just saying that even the things that we think are going to be easier or lower impact, that doesn't change the fact that you are stressing the hell out of your body by taking a yoga class that's extremely hot, especially it's hot out right now.
Right.
You're sweating a lot, all these different things. I'm not going to belabor the point. Let's just say that not all yoga is the right yoga.
Right. I'm already, and a lot of you are already in this hole where anything is going to be just too much. It's like, the way I equate it is like, if you have the stomach flu and the first day that you feel, the first day that you feel better, you're like, cool, I'm gonna go run 10 miles. That's not gonna end well.
No.
And so even though this isn't a tangible, like, virus per se, it's still something that your body's recovering from. So you need to take that into consideration.
Watch it like stop right there and like idle. No, for real though, it's right there. What's that one doing? Now we have two. Mother of God. Just all the trucks, all the trucks.
Letting a car go.
So your plan is no more running, no more cycling. There is a lower level yoga class that you can take, and
That's
maybe
correct.
you're gonna try that one.
Yep.
So what about the CrossFit and the sculpt and?
Yeah, no, none of that. That's not.
Are you gonna say probably?
No, definitely none of that. I'm absolutely going to start with just taking solid rest, and then from there, you know, you can start getting that your body just needs a total reset, and the amount of time, it's different for everyone, and so I can't make any.
However long it takes.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's 2 weeks or 2 years, it's not going to be 2 years. I hope it's not. It's probably not going to be 2 weeks either. So I mean, that's just what I'm saying is I'm just need to commit to the unknown, which is scary and that's uncomfortable.
What is your biggest fear?
You know, I hesitate to say this just because, as I said in the last video, it's something that's hard to admit, but my biggest fear is gaining weight, getting fat. I've always said that that's my number one biggest fear. Like, growing up, before I became a professional athlete, I can't even, it's crazy.
And yet you have said that so far in this process, you actually have.
I have.
You have so far.
Yeah, I've gained weight. And interestingly, it started when I really ramped up my training again, and it was the slow progression. And in my weird paradoxical world, I was like, oh, well, if I'm gaining weight, but I'm still training this much, maybe I'll get my period back. So I just kind of didn't even think about it. Unbeknownst to me that it was largely that amount of training and stress was contributing to the weight gain and making it less likely that I get my period back. So,
and I'm sure most of you who have watched this channel know that I've talked about the exact same thing, that my weight gain actually started before I stopped running, and it was very much at the point where I was training a lot is where my weight gain actually started. So,
and that's common for endurance athletes, and again, it's so hard for us to wrap our heads around that more exercise equates to higher weight, but it's so real. I cannot stress to any of you enough. It is so real. You know, it's what I'm living right now. So additional weight gain is definitely absolutely a fear. So one interesting thing, I mentioned this in the first video, was that I did get my period when I broke my shoulder, and that was coincidentally the least amount I've ever weighed as an adult, ever. And I'm not saying that I was at a healthy weight. I'm not saying I was at a comfortable weight, but
less than what you are now.
Yes, significantly actually. So it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. And then the other thing, which I think so many of us have this conception that if we start gaining weight, we're never going to stop. And that's been something that, you know, I never truly experienced until now. It's like, oh, I'm actually gaining weight, and so when is it going to stop? But I'm confident, you know, you just have, I cannot harp on this enough. You have to trust your body.
In general, calories have you increased?
No, not consciously, no.
Okay.
Not like a planned.
Are you counting?
Up here I am, but I'm not. I'm keeping a food journal that was from the, my therapist and my doctor have me do it. And it's, you know, they have me do it for like a week at a time, and then I'm encouraged to stop doing it.
Are there quantities? Are there numbers? Are you measuring foods?
A little bit.
Can you be more specific?
I will weigh or measure more calorie dense food. I don't weigh vegetables. I don't weigh anything like that.
Okay, so you're not weighing vegetables and things like that, or fruits.
Yep.
Can you tell me the reason for weighing calorie dense foods?
It's to partly start getting a better I shouldn't say start getting a better handle on portion sizes. I can pretty much eye any portion. But I'll weigh like a piece of meat.
Why?
Because I don't want to be eating 18 ounces of meat.
But I'm sure you know the difference between what 4 ounces of meat and what 18 ounces of meat looks like.
Yeah.
So why are you weighing your food?
It's not all the time. It's kind of a check just to...
For what?
Well, and also I will say this is something that I'm not saying I should be doing or shouldn't be doing, but with oils and nut butters and things like that, I would rather just portion out a tablespoon.
Why?
Because I don't think I need...
What does that mean, need?
This lady, you guys, she'll get you every time. No, it's true. I think trusting your hunger cues and trusting that your body will know what to do with...
You're saying that, but do you believe it?
I do believe it. I just have a hard... It's the baby steps. It's like I went from... Jesus Christ. It's partly, and again, this is just some subconscious stuff that it's really hard to get it out of your head when you're like, I want to have a balanced meal with protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And so...
But there's a quantity to that makes more sense to you.
Right. And it's dependent on the rest of the food that I'm having.
Oh.
If that makes sense.
Explain.
Let's say that I'm eating a salad and I cut an entire avocado and I put it in my salad, then I'm more likely to measure out a tablespoon of oil to cook my vegetables in.
Why?
Because I
already have avocado in the salad.
But if I didn't, then I might be like less likely to measure out that oil.
So that oil, let's say a tablespoon of oil is what? How many calories?
120.
120. No hesitation there. 120 calories.
This is a fun game. I could do this for days.
So if you believe me, see those girls out there? There's this like encyclopedic knowledge of how many calories are in.
It's completely worthless knowledge to you, so don't be proud of it.
So if you put a tablespoon, not measured, of olive oil on your salad, and maybe you under-poured versus over-poured, we're talking about a difference between what, maybe 50 calories, maybe 100. Why does that?
I mean, and you saying that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. But I think it's, so again, it goes back to that fear of right now, and something that has really changed since I quit training, my hunger cues are pretty on point. Like, I know when I'm hungry, I know when I'm full, but because I just admittedly said that I still restrict to a degree, then when I do sit down and my body is like, hey, we're hungry, like this is happening, I kind of go into this fury of like, okay, well, how much did I eat today and how much can I afford to,
Okay, so what you just said is really important, because having hunger cues is really important, and not all of us have hunger cues, and that's understood. So you have hunger cues, yet you're still trying to corral them.
Yes.
You're still trying to put them in their appropriate boxes that make sense to you.
Correct.
And obviously, is it making sense to your body?
Correct.
Is it?
No. Something to think about. The number of things I wish I could unlearn is innumerable.
All of us, by the way.
All of us.
All of us. And not just about food and eating, by the way.
Yeah, life is complicated.
But we know what we know. Okay,
Yeah.
so we know what we know. So what do we do now? Where do we go from here?
Well, that's a good question. How do you turn that off?
Well, how
That's
do
a
you turn
question
it off?
for you. I asked you.
I am not a magician. I am many things, but I'm not a magician. And contrary to popular belief, I'm not a fortune teller. I actually can't predict when people are going to get their period
Totally
back.
psychic.
No, I'm not psychic. So I think what we've established here is that for a lot of us, we have a brain that is going to tend to manipulate what we know, our information, and it's going to tend to find the shortcuts and the hack, and it's going to try to fight for control and to put rules around things because we need that as a security blanket.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for you to step forward, you're going to need to remain cognizant of that.
Yes.
And you're going to need to check yourself at every turn.
Yep.
Not just with your amount of exercise, but also with what you're eating.
Yep.
How your everyday life is going, your other stresses. None of us are looking for there to be a definitive answer for Addie today, and she's definitely has a long journey to go, a long way to go. What would you say to everybody right now, if you could? If everyone watching this channel right now, and they're watching you, and they see your journey, and they see you going through it, what do you just want to say to everybody?
Oh man. Well, I already said thank you, but I want to say thank you again. I also want to say, please just trust your intuition and trust your body, because if you're watching this, you know that you have to do something. Don't just take a step back or a couple steps back. Just commit. Just say, I'm going to stop exercising. I'm going to feed my body and fuel my body in the way that it speaks to me, which I know is easier said than done. But I just want everyone to know that you have support, you're not alone, and you just need to do it though. That support and that knowledge doesn't mean anything if you're not actively doing something. And you're clearly all strong people and you can do amazing things, and I think recovering is the hardest and most amazing thing you can do, like, for sure.
And so can you.
Oh, thanks, guys.
So true. So true. Obviously, we're all works in progress. We're all works in progress, and Addie's story is just beginning. You'll be hearing a lot more from Addie, I can promise you that.
Thank you guys.
Can't thank you
Jill.
enough. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Gosh, in some ways I want to apologize to her, but
We'll get there.
yeah. Thank you so much for watching. This has been pretty great, and we'll definitely keep you updated. Thank you for supporting Addie. Thank you for supporting me. We love you more than you know. Thanks for supporting Acaseofthejills. See you.